Good morning. My name is Sterling Connolly Chu. Welcome to Second Growth Homes. Today, we're heading out to plank a deck on a 16 by 20 A-frame cabin. Here's the deck planks behind me. It's this beautiful flat calm day here, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to show our commute to work. There's a kayaker here. Going slow today because we've got this big pile of 16-foot deck planks in the boat. So we're gonna go ahead and put out here and haul these planks up the beach and lay the planking on the deck that we framed up in our previous video. How beautiful it is out here today. Good morning. My name is Sterling Connolly Chu. Welcome to Second Growth Homes. Today, we're working on planking the deck on the 16 by 20 A cabin by Second Growth Homes that you see here behind me. This is a 16 by 20 A-frame cabin designed and built by me and our company, Second Growth Homes. You can follow along with the complete build from start and approaching finish by clicking the like and subscribe buttons below and clicking the link below to see the playlist that's got all the videos for this cabin. So, previous video, we framed this beautiful little 6-foot by 16-foot deck on the front of our cabin here. Feels great. Today we're gonna go ahead and lay the plank. Deck planking is really fun. It's really rewarding. This one should be pretty straightforward. So let's just get started and we'll see how it goes. If you want to see the 3-4 videos that make up this How to Build a Deck series, those are also linked below. We started with nothing and we put in the foundation, post and beams for this deck. We framed the deck. We're going to plank the deck today. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to build a beautiful stairway right off the center of this deck down to the ground, and we'll put handrails on. That'll be a separate video coming up. So if you'd like to see that video, and if you'd like to come with us for finishing this A-frame cabin all the way to the end, please remember to click the like and subscribe buttons below. We're going to start planking. We are going to start planking today out here at the front edge of the deck. This is our rim board that we put on yesterday afternoon. I like to start here with full planking and run the full width planks all the way back to the side of the cabin, because then if we need to put a smaller ripped piece, we can put it against the cabin where it basically just disappears. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your rim is fairly straight, and this one is just absolutely perfect. You really want to start with a straight board. So we're going to go over here. You can see the pile of lumber here behind me. We're going to pick one of our nicest, straightest boards for this first one to get us to start with a straight line. Then the other planks that aren't straight will get bent and clamped against this first plank into straight lines. Well, let's take a look. This one actually looks pretty good. Woo! Wow. Wow. So, first plank I pulled out of the pile here just looks absolutely dead straight to me. Next thing we'll do is we'll flip it over and we'll choose which side we want up. I think this side. And we'll go over. Wow, look at that. So you can see here how nice and straight this is. It's just basically absolutely perfect here and here. So I'm going to grab my tape measure and a pencil, and we're using 16-foot planks, so it's going to be kind of nice that we don't have any butt planks on the deck. They're just full-length planks. That's pretty cool. Generally we're building a bigger deck and we're using a shorter length of board, and when you're doing that, what you really want to do is you want to stagger the butt joints like we did for the tongue and groove. So what that means is that if you have two planks that butt together on a joist to make your full length planks. If you don't have full length planks like we do here today, you don't want those butt joints to be next to each other on the same joist, because that makes for a weak deck. So if we went 8 foot and then we went for a 12 foot to get a 20-foot deck, we'd want to come 12 feet from the other side and then an 8 feet, so that those butt joints are staggered throughout the deck. You can do it random, you can do it in a stepped pattern, or you can do it you could just do 8 and 12, 12 and 8, 8 and 12, 12 and 8. It doesn't really matter too much for a house, but you do want to always stagger them, whether you're using plywood, whether you're using deck planking, whether you're putting on tongue and groove. In this case, all we have to do is make sure that our overhangs are the same, and I'm pretty sure this is. So we got a little bit of an overhang on both ends of the deck. So I'm just going to check that real quick on the other end, and then we're going to give it a 1 inch, well, let's go with the 1/2 inch. So we're just going to give it a 1/2 inch overhang here on the front. So the deck plank overhangs sticks out a 1/2 inch past this rim right here, and then it also has an overhang on the end, and that makes for a better looking deck. If you just slam that on top of there, you'll end up with kind of an ugly joint there. Those little overhang details are really critical. Okay. So this is just perfect. This this rim will actually get cut off, and we're going for a perfect 2 inch overhang here today. Pretty straightforward. We're just using a high quality deck screw. You can get these at Home Depot or any of your stores. Kind of the standard for decks now. So we'll just put one screw in here, and then we'll go get the other end straight. How's the neighbors falling trees over there? Put one screw in, we'll go get the other end straightened out. When you're putting in screws, you just want to keep a bit of pressure on them, and you don't want to tighten them too much or they'll strip. Just barely sunk into the deck. That was beautiful. This is looking great. Perfect 2 inch there. I'll just double check. Awesome. So we've got a perfectly straight plank. Double checked our overhang here is really nice. Now we're just going to go ahead and lay half the deck. And I like to just use a pencil as a spacer. I find it's a fine width. It's just like a little over 1/4 of an inch. So we'll use that as our spacer in between the planks. After you get about halfway done with your deck, you want to start measuring from the edge of your deck plank to the side of the house. And then what you'll do is you can adjust those gaps between the planks the tiniest bit to make sure that when you get to the edge of the house, you're going to be perfectly parallel with it. So I'll just, let's say this end is 1/2 inch farther away from the edge of the house than the other end. So this end is 1/2 inch farther away. So when I got to the side of the house, that last board would have to be tapered. I'll just put the pencils perfectly tight at that end and slam the board in. And then when I get to this end, I'll just wiggle the pencil a little bit to give it a little bit of room. You know, say a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch. I'll do that a couple times. And after you've done that a couple times, you'll get back perfectly in line. Always make small adjustments. It's got a kind of way of, you'll over adjust if you're not careful. I'm gonna go ahead and get up here and let's keep going. So when you put in the screws, I'll show you a close-up this shortly, you don't want to put them in a straight line down the joist. So instead of all the screws being in a perfectly straight line going down the joist, you actually want to stagger them as well. So instead of being perfectly in line, you move them out to where they're actually closer to the edge of the joist, then you angle them a little bit to go in towards the middle. So it does two things. The first thing it does is, if all the screws are in a line, they'll split the joist. Or if all the nails are in a line, they'll split the joist. That's the first reason you stagger. Second reason is that if the screws are offset a little bit and angled a little bit, they have a locking effect. They'd actually have to bend to come out, and it helps lock the planks in, makes for a stronger job. So choose it. We're gonna put the screw closest to me to the right, and the screw farthest away from me to the left. And let's just go ahead and fasten this first plank down. So you can hear there, I'm being really careful not to over tighten. And the first plank, we're putting one screw into the joist and one screw into the rim. And what that does is, this deck plank will help tie the rim to the joists. You gotta be careful when you put these ones in that you're not blowing out the side. Just till those screws are tight. Awesome. Now this is gonna look great. Alright. So the one closest to me goes to the right of the joist, angled to the middle, and the second one is on the left side of the joist, angled to the middle, but it's actually going into the rim. Nice. Be real careful. I love building decks. It's really fun. This deck is solid as a rock. It doesn't even have braces yet. Great. After you get a couple planks done, the deck gets a little easier. Alright, so this is fun. It's been a while since I did a deck with the planks full length. This should be really easy. Okay. We'll get a couple more pencils as spacers here. I'll put a couple extra in my pocket. I'm sure I'll be dropping them today. Here. So, let's just choose our next plank. There's no reason to be picky with this next one. We don't have any extra, so we got to use them all up anyways. Okay. So it can be challenging to get this edge of the deck really pretty. This edge over here. We've got a 2-inch overhang. So what we're gonna do is just put the planks exactly at 2-inch overhang on this end. We're not gonna worry about the other end. We're just gonna put it right at 2-inch. Hopefully it all looks great. If it doesn't, the easiest way to make them perfect is to just trim it ever so slightly. So what I'll do is, if these lines here don't look good to me, I'll run a straight line and I'll just kiss the end off them with the skill saw to clean it up. It's better if you don't have to, because these treated ends are good, but you know, the reality is just, you gotta make your deck look perfect. So all we need to do here, check that we're at 2 inches. Exactly. We make sure that we're tight against the pencil. Put in a screw. Nice. Okay. We'll go down to the other end. Throw in a screw, and I'm gonna bring the camera in for a closer angle real soon here. Yeah, I can see that. I'm not even sure these boards are the same length. It's about 1/2 inch long, so we'll just set them exactly at 2 inch from that end, and then we'll trim the ends off. Okay. So these first planks look great. They lined up better than I thought. We'll come to the middle of the plank, put the pencil in. It's just the tiniest bit loose. Okay? Tiny, tiny bit. We're gonna try a toe screw to see if that tightens it up. So from the corner of the board like this, wow. And I can't even move the pencil now, it's tight. So if you have small varieties like that where you just need to tighten up a little bit, the toe screws will really do it. And then as we go, I'll show you other ways to deal with more extreme. Nice. Very nice. Okay. So we got that tacked down. Our deck seams look nice and even. So let's just go ahead and screw it down. Again, just real careful not to over tighten the screws. Hopefully the fly being down on my rain pants didn't ruin my video. That'd be funny. Oh, my head. Look. I'll flop a couple of these down to walk on. It seems like the way to do it. Ha. So basically I'm just putting them good side up, and that's kind of how what you do when you're planking the deck. Just put them the good side up. Oh, this looks great. Okay, so this one's got more of a bow in the middle, which will be fun to deal with. So we're trying to do a really, really nice job. At the end of the day, once the deck's done, it's like a slight variety in the width of these gaps between the boards is actually not the end of the day. When you're laying it, you just try to do it so perfectly, but what happens is, like, after you're done, the boards shrink and swell over time, and it's always changing a little bit. You know, this board's wet, this one's dry for whatever reason, so this one will shrink more. Try to do them as nice as you can. Okay. So this board has a pretty big gap in the middle. So it goes from 1/4 inch at the ends where I got my spacers, almost a 1/2 inch here. And I can tell this one, just toe screwing it over, is not going to get it. See, it's like, it's really, really loose. So I'll show you the best way to do this. There are other ways. You know, I could show you a bunch of different ways. If we had a big clamp, that would be great. But basically, what we're going to do is we're just going to take a block of wood and we're going to screw that block of wood down to our joist, just about 3/4 of an inch away from the plank. Yeah. This is actually a good spot for those timber locks, but we'll just try it like this. Okay. Then we're going to take a wedge. So you can make a wedge out of wood. You could cut a wedge out of any of this wood we have laying around. I happen to have a plastic chainsaw falling wedge. We'll go ahead and use that. This is the same method if you need to tighten up the tongue and groove, which you'll see in other videos. So the tongue and groove boards are the same. Sometimes you'll have one with a bunch of sweep and it won't come down all the way. Well, fasten it where it's tight. Screw a big block onto the joist or the rafters or the floor joists, and then hammer in a big wedge to slam that board over to where it needs to go. And I'll show you how to do that right now. So here's a close-up of what we're doing here. So this gap is too big. We need to move the board over. So you just screw your block down to the joist. My foot's on here. And then we don't want to overdo it, but we'll just tighten it up here. Absolutely tight. So you see how easy that is? So the reason I showed you this method is that it works really well if you have extreme bow. Like if you need to really move stuff a lot, that's the way to do it. If you had a clamp or something, you know, you might be able to find easier, faster ways. But if you really need to get boards clamped straight, you fasten the block, you tap in a wedge. That's how you do it. So now that plank is perfect. Let me run out here. Now let's go ahead and fasten it down. So you can make your wedge out of a block of wood. You could even cut it with a chainsaw or skill saw or bandsaw. But I imagine you probably got a chainsaw wedge, tree falling wedge like me laying around, so this board's pretty bent, you know. I mean, we got to move it over almost 3/8 of an inch. So we'll put our wedge in there, and I'll do a close-up here. So the wedge is just between the board. So here's a close-up of what we're doing here. So this gap is too big. You need to move the board over. So you just screw your block down to the joist. The foot's on here. And then you don't want to overdo it, but we'll just tighten it up here. So here we are. This one's got a big, see how big that opening is right here? And excuse me. And it's already as tight as it needs to be over here. This one's already as tight as it needs to be right here. So we'll put the pencil in right there. Now we can go ahead and tighten this up. Oops. And now we'll go ahead and tighten this up here. There we go, perfect. Okay, we got a board here that needs a lot of wedging. Let's go ahead and do it. That's crazy. So this one is like, it is like an inch. Wow, but it's pretty easy to move it. Board is so far off. The wedge method is so powerful that that's all it takes. A couple of taps and barely hit it. A little extra, perfect. Alright, so we'll go ahead and screw this one off, and I'll get a couple more planks down and we'll measure over to the house. Tell you what, let's do it right now. So what we're going to do is measure from this plank over to the wall of the house. And that'll tell us if we're parallel to that surface over there when we meet the house. So if we're parallel, the last board will look perfect and the gaps will be perfect. If we're out at all, those last boards just look horrible. So let's make it perfect. Okay. So the nature of wood and these gaps is that you're going to have some variety. So if you first measure this and it seems really far out, don't freak out. We got 31 1/4 at the end. $31 3/4 in the middle, which it's actually kind of thinking about. And then at this end, we got 31 1/2. Okay? So what that means is we'll call that end perfect because it was the closest to the house. So that end is perfect. This end, or sorry, that end's perfect. The middle is a 1/2 inch over. And I was kind of intrigued by that because it seems like I'm consistently having to wedge the middle of the boards more than I think in that direction. So that's good. That end is only 1/4 of an inch out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slam this next board on. Pay attention, this is what makes or breaks when you're building a deck. So, looks like a good side. Slam this in here. I'll get the end fastened. Really quick. I'll fasten this end. So I'll show you here. So this end right now is 1/4 of an inch too far out. So over the next couple planks, I need to make up 1/4 of an inch. So this needs to come towards the house 1/4 of an inch. Let's just wiggle the pencil a little bit. Okay. So that is, I probably moved it a full 1/8 of an inch. That's half of what we need to do. And you know, it seems like a lot. I can't even see it. Okay. So now we sight down the plank, and I can see that I still need to suck the middle in a little bit to make it look good. So I'll show you what that looks like here. That end, what we did was we opened the joint up a little bit to move it a little bit closer to the house. So I'll go ahead and I'll cheat a little bit on this end. So in this case, I'll take the pencil out and I'll give it a little tap. There we go. That was about 1/8 of an inch, but I can't tell the difference. Okay, so we had, one way to think about it would be all that what's wrong was we had 1/4 of an inch difference end to end. I moved that end an 1/8 and I moved this end to 1/8. My guess is when I measure it here is that we're gonna be spot on. So let's check it out. And that is a full 1/4 of an inch change. I can't tell the difference. 25 1/4 at this end. Yeah, still about 25 1/2. So we'll have to do that again. Let's check it here. $25 5/8. Yeah. So it's going to take us a couple planks to do that, which is fine. So because I know now that I need to start letting these center gaps get a little bit bigger, we'll let that happen here. So we'll just tighten it up the minimal amount. Okay, to make it look good by eye. So I put the pencil in there. It's a little loose, but when I look at it, it looks good. We're going to do that for these next 2 planks, and that should have us straighten right back out here. Okay. So this end, we want to set a little more than 1/4 of an inch. You gotta remember what you're trying to do. This end needs to be set a little big. That's easy. Okay. 2 inches. Big. Beautiful. Okay. This end, we want to set a little tight. So we'll put the pencil in there, we'll pull it out, bump it over a little. Ooh, that looks good. Oh yeah, so that one, I'm not even going to need to wedge the middle. That's good. Okay. Alright, let's check this again. I have had to do that in every deck I've built. I don't think I've ever built a deck where I didn't have to fudge them a little bit. And like, it seems like we were changing them a lot, but I don't see anything. It looks great. So let's see where we're doing now. Basically 19 3/4. 19 1/2. 19 1/2. Awesome. So the ends are now good, perfect, and so both ends are now perfect, parallel, and this one is just about 1/4 of an inch extra out, so it could go in a little farther. I can't open this gap up anymore, it's already a little big, so we'll leave this one right where it is. It looks just fine. Okay. So from here on out, I like to actually use the tape to make sure that I'm staying perfect. So we'll go to this end. 13 1/2. So when I go to screw this end down now, I'll just put it exactly at 13 1/2, and as long as my gap looks good, I'll be happy with that. 2. So I couldn't quite go to 13 1/2. We did 13 5/8 on this end. So I couldn't go quite all the way over to 13 1/2 on that end, or the gap would be too big. So let's come back to this end. Let's see if we can put this at 13 5/8 or not. Oh yeah. Okay. So both ends are again perfect. We're starting to close in the deck here. Let's see what the middle is. 13 5/8 there. Oh yeah, look at this. Beautiful. It's 13 and we'll call it 11/16, but it's 13 5/8. So now we got this edge perfect. I'm actually out of planking today. It's pretty funny. I'm 2 boards short. So tomorrow morning we're gonna put these last planks in and set this door. So if you'd like to come with me tomorrow to put these last planks in, see how to finish this off, and put in this door, please click the like and subscribe buttons below. What I like to do with my last couple planks is actually lay them all in here, and you could tack them down with just a couple screws if you wanted to, or just lay them in here and just just set these last gaps with your pencil and by eye to just make it perfect to meet the house over there. So while we're here, let's go ahead and think about the best way to finish this deck out. Because we got 13.5 to get to the end. So each board takes up 6 inches of space. That's a 5.5 inch board plus a 1/2 inch gap. We need to make up we'll just call it 13.5. So if we did 2 6-inch, there'd be 1.5 inches at the end, which would be pretty ugly. That'd be like a really, if we put a little strip in there, it'd look really, really, really bad. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna buy a 2x6 and we're gonna buy a 2x8 to finish this off. So that'll be 6 inches, and then 8 would put us at 14. So we'll need to rip the 2x8, the edge that meets the house, the edge of it that meets the house. We'll need to rip it, but that's fine. It'll look really, really good. So there'll be a 2x6, and then there'll be a ripped 2x8 meeting the house, and that'll just be absolutely perfect here today. So I'm gonna go to the store, buy myself a 2x6x16 pressure treated and a 2x8x16 pressure treated. And in the next video, if you'd like to come with me, we will finish this deck off, set this door, and we're gonna do a big clean out of the interior of the cabin. After that, basically the last step to the outside of the A cabin is to apply the siding to this surface here. The A cabin can be finished in any kind of siding. You could put shingles on here, bevel siding. You can use T111, whatever you'd like. Our kits will come with bevel siding. So if you purchase this as a kit from us, that's what you'll get. And then if you have a preference on kind of look that you're going for with your siding, we can choose whatever siding we want for the ends of this cabin. You can choose whatever your color you want, from natural wood to any paint color. And you get to choose what color the metal roofing is. So there's kind of some fun customization that you get to do to this cabin. So, well, this deck's looking great. I'll put my tools here and put the last of these screws in, and I'll just give you a little overview of it. That was fun. Pretty typical decking install job. Let's get this out of here. That was a real typical decking install. We had to do a little fudging here at the end. That happens every single deck. And I find it's better than to just lay more than half the deck and get it down and then worry about it as you come near the end. Because if you start thinking about it too much early, you just waste time. Just start out there. It needs to be parallel to that edge no matter what. Lay half the deck and then start checking yourself. And usually that'll come out so that when you get right here within a couple planks, you're good. And it'll just be absolutely perfect. So let's get to the store. Let's get a couple more boards. We'll buy this door. We'll have a nice window in it. And we'll go ahead and get that all going here today on our next video. Thanks for watching.
Oh, Maggie.